Hi, this is Jerry Portnoy with Accent on Design. We're a graphic design, web design, and wholesale printing company based in sunny Southern California, Carlsbad, California to be precise. And this is the second in a series of tips and videos, tips to help the professional graphic designer, printing company, but more so for the amateur. So one of the things that happens very often in our office is we will receive a file from someone who is less than a professional graphic artist. And so the things that sort of are a consistent problem, easy to fix. So first off, if you can, use one of the professional Adobe products such as InDesign, Illustrator, or Photoshop. Illustrator is the best in my opinion because it's so versatile and it's vector, but so is InDesign, very versatile also. And Photoshop is a bitmap program, but sometimes you have to design something in Photoshop if necessary. If you are using Photoshop, make sure that you set up the file at least 300 dpi, and if there's a lot of text or text is important, probably should bump that up to 600 dpi for printing purposes. If you're doing stuff for the web, this does not apply. This is only a video about printing problems. So the two most common problems are missing fonts and also missing links. So the font issue can be fixed very easily by converting your fonts to outlines, and that's done in Illustrator and in InDesign. And it's very easy. Look it up online how to convert fonts to outlines. But if you don't want to do that or can't do that, just include the font with the file that you send, and that will eliminate any font issues. If the font is missing, it will be substituted, and it will often come back as a font that's different than you had intended, and your project's going to look different. Secondly, the links. That's, for example, a realtor who he or she places their photograph, it's usually a JPEG photo, into their program. Let's say it's Illustrator again. And they don't embed that link, that file that's called 123 JPEG, for example. If you don't, it'll get substituted as a low resolution version in the file that you send us. So you have to either embed it, also again, very easy to do. You go to the links palette, there's a little triangle in the upper right, click it and embed that font. Or just include it, again like you did with the fonts, include that link, that 123 JPEG link, and we'll link it up when it gets to us. PDF is probably the file we prefer the most. Not probably, but it is. And we love PDF files when done properly. So if you have Adobe Acrobat Pro, if you have the Adobe Creative Suite, you have all these programs, the Creative Cloud Suite, you have all these programs in there. So if you create a PDF from that, pretty much bulletproof if done properly, and you're always welcome to call or email us to get that information. Another problem that we see often is color problems. So you send us your file and your bright blue sky that was the background turns out to be a dull blue sky when you get the product back, the postcard or brochure. And that's because there's an RGB versus CMYK. Most files and images are RGB, red, green, blue, but they need to be converted to 4-color process for offset printing and for a lot of digital printing also. And RGB is the red, green, blue. CMYK is also known as 4-color process, and the color gamut, in other words the wide range of colors, is much larger in RGB values than in cyan, magenta, yellow, and black values. So when it's converted from RGB to CMYK, that bright blue turns dull. It's because there isn't as many color pixels in the CMYK version. You can sometimes fix that in Photoshop, but most colors don't change too much, but bright blues definitely do. Another problem we see often is it has to do with bleeds. So you design a postcard, and that postcard you have intended that photograph in the background to print to the very edge of the paper. You have to prepare an extra 1/8 of an inch outside of that, called a bleed, a 1/8 inch bleed. And once done, then we can cut it down exactly to the size of your postcard or business card, whatever it is. But we get files all the time. Let's say it's a 5x8 postcard. The PDF file we get is 5 inches by 8 inches. Well, they didn't include their bleed, so that would be a 5 1/4 by 8 1/4. You add 1/8 of an inch on the top, on the bottom, the right and the left. 1/8 and 1/8 equals 1/4. So you add 1/4 onto your file size, and you now have a 5 1/8 by 5 1/4 by 8 1/4 full bleed postcard or business card, brochure, whatever it might be, and that's done properly. That's it for this episode. I just wanted to express a couple things, problems that we see all the time when people send us files that are not professional, and even a lot of professional graphic designers don't do it correctly. We're at www.accentonDesignCA.com, and thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next week for another video. Bye-bye.